Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. What's going on, Francine? What's going on, Miss Wilson? What's going on, Tanisha? What's going on, Katrina? I hope everyone is doing well this morning. So listen, um, I wanted to first of all, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe and make sure that you bang that notification bell so you don't miss nothing. Now, you also need to make sure that you bang the notification bell on anybody that you're subscribed to. Because listen, only about 10 to 15% of our subscribers, if that, get notifications. So want to make sure you get notified. So make sure you subscribe, notify yourself to receive all notifications. Now, see, I let the people know that I'm going live early this morning because I don't want anyone to have any issues with me. You went live and you didn't tell us. You went live and you didn't tell us. Well, I did tell the people this morning, okay? So let's get into this. So basically, what we are going to be doing today, my boy Vale, that you see on the right hand side of the screen, of course, you see big hip, fat hip Tim Norman on the left, and then you see Vale on the right. So Vale has been covering this story. Um, Pretty much from day one, he's been covering this story, and he's pretty much, just been making sure that everything is in order with this. He's been making sure that he goes to the court dates. He was at the trial. He was at the sentencing yesterday or the day before yesterday. So we're gonna take a look at this video, and we're gonna stop and commentate on it. This is very interesting. So he's made like a mini docu series based off of the timeline of Tim Norman up until the sentencing of him being in prison. That's Miss Ross. What's going on? Good morning. So we are about to get into this. Shout out to my boy Bill. I did, I don't ever use anything without anyone's permission. Okay, that's for sure. I ever use anything without anyone's permission because I don't want any issues. All right. So I did speak with Vale, and Vale did give permission to use this video. So we are getting ready to tap in. Give me just a second. I'm gonna share my screen and remove this thumbnail, and we'll get right into it. Okay, so listen, for those of you that are watching, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Miss Vernita, good morning, good morning, good morning. Listen, y'all might well go on and bless the channel. All right. The Cash App and the Venmo will be scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And of course, you can super chat or super stick. Yesterday, y'all, we had a good time yesterday, and nobody, I mean, nobody want to make it rain on the Cash App or the Venmo. Okay, so let's get into this. Let me remove this thumbnail really quick. Let's see. All right. All right. So make sure you go over and support my boy. I'm going to go ahead and paste the link in the comment section below. Um, Hold on one second. Let's see here. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Good morning. So let's just be very clear. So remember, I told you guys that I did a little bit of research before we get into this. I did a little bit of research on Tim Norman's actual sentencing, right? And although he was sentenced to life, that's only like 36 years in St. Louis, right? Both of those sentences are literally only 36 years apiece. So it ain't really life if you really think about it. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how they operate when they say life. So also remember I told you guys yesterday that um, Tim Norman did write the judge a letter. So I'm going to briefly read a little bit of this letter because some of it is actually cut off. I'm pretty sure that I can go get the actual letter. But I want to read a little bit of it. Now, they're saying that the letter was 3 pages, but I'm just going to read the first page. And so it says the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Missouri, Eastern Division, United States of America, plaintiff, and then it gives his his prison number. I guess I don't know what that is. But anyway, it says Judge John Ross, and Judge John Ross was the judge that overseed the actual case. And it says James Timothy Norman defended James Timothy Norman pro. I don't know what they mean by that. Proceed. Anyway, um, basically what he was asking was for the judge to be removed from the actual trial. He wanted the judge to be removed. So it goes on to say Judge Ross participated in allowed fraud, misrepresentation, and conspiracy, and an ineffective assistance of counsel by defense attorney Joseph Hogan and Ethan Corja. Assistant United States Attorney Angie Dennis and Gwendolyn Carroll, St. Louis Metropolitan Police Detective David Randolph, FBI Special Agent Chris Faber, and the United States Magistrate Judge uh, Nanette Baker. Okay, it goes on to say before, during, and after the time frame of the defendant Norman's case, and it gives the case number. Judge John Ross and my previous attorney Joseph Hogan had been facing uh, pending court decisions for allegations of fraud, misrepresentation, and conspiracy. Judge Ross and attorney Hogan have been accused of working with police in protection to obtain, in prosecution to obtain convictions of defendants. And then it gives an article to go read. It goes on to say Hogan did not notify defendant Norman of allegations or pending decisions. In addition, attorney Hogan did not notify defendant that he worked with, was employed by, and received payment from St. Louis Metropolitan Police Detective David Randolph. Now, Detective Randolph is treasurer of the St. Louis Order of Police Union and employed Hogan to defend police officers on two separate cases. So basically, I ain't gonna read all of this, but basically, what they're saying in this, Tim Norman, mind you, his attorneys didn't know nothing about this letter. His attorneys didn't know nothing about this letter. And when I say nothing, they knew absolutely nothing about this letter. So basically, he said that the judge did participate in fraud, misrepresentation, and conspiracy. Is basically what he's saying. Same thing R. Kelly saying too. The people that always need to be under the judge, under the jail, under the prison, they always saying something crazy. Anyway, okay, so let's get into this. So basically, this video is literally, as you can see, it's a 27-minute short documentary on the timeline of what exactly happened in this case. Okay. All right, so let's get into it.
Somewhere behind us, approximately there, we have Travell standing in wait. Andre gets out of the car. Travell sees the door swing open, and he texts Terica, move. This is actually Tim's luxury apartment building that we've heard so much about during the trial. How rich Tim was, and how he actually had Andre set up in this luxury building. Now, mind you, that was Tim's version of the situation.
He's up there on that stand crying and lying and stuff. Well, my brother had no access to your people. My mother, he would call my mother to send money and food. My mother would buy pizza out here to feed him. My mother was doing all of that. That was a lie. They had my brother out here in a slump. That little penthouse he was staying next to a couple. Yeah, all going down. And it had another efficiency, and it had a rusty stove inside of it, the bed, the cup. They're like a Salvation type. Two little iron metal looking chairs. And it was so small, it was like a little box room where he lived in, right next door to Tim's greenhouse. Because I visited him up there. And I was asking, why are you living like this? He said, well, this is why I should live.
This is also the
Okay, so I want to pause it just for a second. So far, for those of you that are just coming in here, we're going over the timeline of Fat Hip Tim Norman, right? So basically, we have seen the high rise, the alleged high rise that Tim Norman allegedly supposed to have been staying in. Now they're saying that he allegedly stayed in there with a woman, is what they're saying, which is the reason why, and we'll hear it in this as well, which is the reason why Andre always struggled to even go visit his uncle because of the simple fact of how he was having Andre living versus how he was living. All right, let's keep watching.
rise building that Tim claims that Andre actually signed the life insurance policy in the presence of Tim, and that they did it all in his kitchen while he ran around the house with TJ, who was also there. But when Tim first moved out of the house with Charles and moved into his own place, on the show they presented it like Tim moved out on his own into his bachelor pad. But what I've heard, word on the street, is that Tim was actually living with a woman here. And so that would explain, because I was like, why wouldn't he let the mother of his child come and see the place he lives in? Because that was one of her issues with having TJ spend the night, was that she knew Tim wasn't really responsible, wasn't the best father. And so she was like, is it baby proof, all this other stuff. And so basically, had he let her see it, it would have made all that process a lot easier. But I can see now why he wouldn't let her see it. This is also the apartment building that Tim was evicted from, due to non-payment of rent. And this is the one that he was texting Charles about, saying, I'm about to get evicted, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is only like maybe a 13-minute walk and a 2 or 3 minute drive from the Chase Park Plaza Hotel that Tim used for, his shenanigans with women. And that was because he didn't want them here at his house. He claimed that he had never had Terica over here because he didn't trust her. So he had her meet him at like Chase Park Plaza and other places that were not his homes. She claimed that she met him any and everywhere.
Exactly, Tracy.
Basically, she was saying like she basically had met him in his own home as well. Don't know who telling the truth with that one. But anyway, all right.
Okay, so just to pause it here really quick. So you guys know that Terica Ellis was the stripper that Tim allegedly paid $9,000 to get, I guess, to try to get Andre's attention. Okay, because Andre knew Terica, all right, and Terica and Tim allegedly, messed around. They had this little fling thing going on, child. So anyway, he's basically just letting us know about Thick Hips living conditions. Okay, let's keep watching.
All right, let's move on to the next spot. All right, we have arrived to the Bottoms Up Club. This is actually where Terica used to work on the weekends, well, Thursday through Saturday.
This is Terica.
Yeah, this is it. It's actually surprisingly way larger than I thought from the pictures.
Bottoms of the kitchen.
And it has a huge parking
kitchen
lot.
Next door to the club.
Like all of this is the parking lot. All the way back there to those.
That's a Bottoms of the kitchen, right, open daily, honey. And they sell chicken, seafood, and broccoli.
And then all of this here. So I'm gonna give you guys just a walk around it real quick before we give a little background on it. And as we can see, it's very desolate around here. There's a church across the street, of course, because that's what happens. Church, strip club, gives you all of humanity all in one. But anyway, so this is the club where Terica and Tim originally met while she was stripping here. This is also the club where she met Andre, just a couple weeks shy of when Tim asked her to carry out the act of luring him. So what I've noticed about here, and I don't know if we're going to see it as well, But this street straight ahead of me is kind of like a frontage road. And there were actually, now, of course, because I'm filming it, you're not going to see it, but there were actually quite a few semi trucks going by. So this is obviously an area where truckers come through quite a bit. So that would make sense that, you know, they would have what truckers like in their downtown, which is
I'm about to say,
you know,
it really honestly
exotic
makes sense.
dances and restrooms and food. But primarily, it's like there's a grouping of exotic dance clubs or strip clubs over here. The Pink Slip Club is over there and kind of right kitty corner from here. And that was where, in one of the episodes, Tim was talking with his friend Slim, and Slim was like, you know, we need to go check out those Pink Slip girls. And so I knew that there was something to him saying that. And the Pink Slip girls were the exotic dancers
It's
over there at
21
the Pink
watching,
Slip
17
Club.
likes. Y'all,
But
please
looks
like
like
the video.
maybe
Like the
Bottoms Up
video.
was Tim's fave. So this is where the plot really kind of begins. I mean, besides the planning, but this is where the action started to take place. Terica and Tim meet here about in 2009 or so. A couple months later, they actually meet in person. They run into each other at a wing place, as Terica said in her testimony. And then they began a friends with benefits relationship. From there, years later, Tim finding out, you know, her personality, knowing she's, you know, easily led in a way, maybe a little slow. He then used her to plot on Andre because Andre was here weeks before Terica actually lured him. He was making it rain on her. He had given her more money than the average customer. He claimed at that time that he was a rapper out of New Orleans, and they exchanged numbers. He basically said he wanted to meet her, you know, after the club, outside of the club rather, and handle business. And they connected in that way. And that is how she got his number. That is how she built up a relationship enough with Dre in order to be able to lure him out for Tim to commit.
Good morning, everybody. Just coming in. Good morning. And I totally agree with you, Shaylee.
All right,
we're about
so
to get into
on
it.
to the next stop. This
I
is
hope I
crazy.
said
I
your
just
name
got
right.
in my car, and as I get in the car, I'm like, oh man, I'm parked right in front of an open door, and somebody could have been in there. I wasn't paying attention to my environment the way I'm supposed to. And then I noticed there's a mattress in this little outhouse looking thing. And what I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, let me know what y'all think, but it looks like that can possibly be, you know, where things happen. Interesting tidbit and nasty fact, but you get to see the kind of environment that is right outside of the Bottoms Up Club. So,
all right, just to catch a few people up that are just coming in here. So basically what we're doing is we're my boy Vale, he's been following this case from day one. He's been traveling back and forth to St. Louis, especially when they had the trial and when they had the sentencing. And so basically what he's already showed us the high rise in which Tim Norman was in. And then he's also showing us right now the club that Terica worked at, which is the Bottoms Up Club. Okay. So just in general and just kind of listening to this, like I will have to get further into it, but I wanted to say to the person who said Miss Robbie needs to go with her son, listen, y'all know how I feel about Miss Robbie. I feel that same way because at the end of the day, and one thing I don't like is people making excuses for her because of her age and because who she is. It's like, oh, well, let's pray for her because that's her son. But can we also just back up and realize that her son is the same person who she had to sue? So in my mind, me thinking, and listen, it may be possible that she was scared of her son. But at the end of the day, when your grandson continues to come talk to you about the fact that, one, he did not steal the money, he's telling you he did not steal the money. Two, he's also telling you that his uncle is the one that did it and he's out to get him. And I can't with this because he's shown patterns of being a scammer. He's shown patterns of stealing. He's shown patterns of all of this. even before taking out your only grandson from your son who is no longer here. I don't know. I don't see it for Miss Robbie because a lot of people keep saying, again, like I said, we use her age and all of this stuff to make it excuses for her. But at the end of the day, you knew, you knew, you knew it came out in court via text message, recorded phone calls, everything. She knew and didn't do anything to protect her grandson. I can't rock with that.
We definitely know why Tim was coming here. And I'm sure that Terica was not the only woman on Tim's roster of women that, he shelled out a few $100s for, a few hours of fun, or an hour or whatever it was, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes of fun. Yeah, that's interesting. We get to see what kind of place this is. And there's also a club across the way called the Dog Pound Gentlemen's Club.
I like nothing but clubs on that little
It's
corner.
interesting. All right, people, it's time for me to move on to the next stop. Fast forward to the day before Andre's life was taken. James Timothy Norman, while still in LA, decides that he's
He
going
look
to book a
crazy,
flight
bro.
to St. Louis after discovering that Terica Ellis was going to be there for the weekend working at the Bottoms Up Club. Within 4 hours of booking the flight to St. Louis, Tim was on his way. While on that flight, Tim goes online to book his hotel stay at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel. During that time, Tim has also
Okay, so um, prior to the unfortunate unaliving of Andre, this is kind of where we need to listen to detail. So he's letting us know that the day before, okay, Terica lets Tim know that she's going to be in St. Louis. Now, from what I also understand, Terica also told Tim that she was getting ready to leave St. Louis and head back to Memphis because she was hired to dance at that club, that Bottoms Up Club, the night before. So, literally, y'all, this probably has been in the back of Tim Norman's mind. But the fact that, oh my God, the fact that he literally chose to really, 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 really plot once he got on that plane. Oh, I listen. Listen.
after discovering that Terica Ellis was going to be there for the weekend working at the Bottoms Up Club. Within 4 hours of booking the flight to St.
Hey,
Louis,
Simply
Tim
Elegant
was
One.
on his way. While on that flight, Tim goes online to book
Hey,
his
King
hotel
Fame.
stay at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel. During that time, Tim has also been sending text messages back and forth between himself and Chris Carroll, who is also known as White Boy Chris. Tim has arranged for Chris Carroll to pick him up at the airport once he arrived to St. Louis. Once Tim arrives at the St. Louis airport, Chris Carroll picks him up at the arrivals area. Chris then drives Tim to go pick up his rental car. After Tim has picked up his rental car, Chris Carroll.
Okay, so Chris Carroll is Tim Norman's friend. Okay, Chris Carroll, hey Nikki P, is Tim Norman's friend, right? And so it's being alleged that when he came in, he had to rent a car. His friend had to take him to go rent a car and all of this kind of stuff. Now, see, one thing about it, you finna sit up here and break the law. You is not to get me involved. I'm not picking you up from no airport. I ain't finna do none of that stuff. But of course, his friend probably ain't know what his true plans were.
Trails Tim to the Chase Park Plaza Hotel, where they both part ways. Okay, and so now we're at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel. This is where Tim came to stay when he flew into St. Louis, basically at midnight Saturday morning. Tim then, at about 6 a.m., so Tim probably, was hashing out his plan a little deeper, thinking it through. He then decides that he's going to call Terica. He calls her on the last number that he had for her. It was then not working. It was disconnected. So anyway, Tim then said that he hit up Terica via Facebook Messenger because he saw that information on one of her flyers. Tim messages her around 6 a.m. Terica responds somewhere around 10 a.m.
Okay, so this is the day that Andre unfortunately was unalive. Okay, so he's giving an account of that particular day. Again, Tim Norman tried to reach out to Terica Ellis via the phone number that he had, the last phone number that he had for her. It's not working, it's disconnected. He hits her up on Facebook Messenger. She responds a few hours later. Now, mind you, from the time that, and I'm not sure why Tim just didn't go to the club, but from the time that he landed, which was probably, it sounds like a little after midnight, okay, from the time that he landed to 6 o'clock in the morning, he had time to literally plot all this stuff out in that time frame. So between the time he was on that plane and the time that he had 6 hours to literally plan this before he reached out to Terica Ellis again. She didn't respond to him until 10 a.m. that next morning. Okay, let's keep listening.
And 30. She then gives him her number. Tim asks her, what is she up to? She says she's getting ready to head home to Memphis. Tim says, why don't you stay here a minute? I want to see you. She says, okay. And so then she comes from wherever she was staying over here to the Chase Park Plaza Hotel to meet up with Tim. We already know they have relations. Then the conversation about Dre comes up through some small talk. Small talk from, even though it was planned. And then from there, Terica starts texting with Andre per Tim's instructions. Once it's set up that Andre will meet up with Terica, is willing to, then Tim's next plan of action is for Terica to get a burner phone. And so then they go to the nearest Walgreens. Now, I just plugged in the address for the Walgreens that they went to. And Tim did say in his testimony that the reason they went to this particular Walgreens was because it was walking distance. It's extremely close. Although they still drove to it, it was very close. And again, he claimed during his testimony, Tim Norman claimed that he wanted Terica to get a burner phone because he had a live-in girlfriend and he was basically cheating on her.
So should have, and to be very clear, Terica has a daughter who has a severe illness. And this is one of the reasons why she asked for her attorneys and her asked the judge to have some leniency on her sentencing. Okay. Also, when she first got arrested, I don't know if she got arrested or turned herself in. I want to say she did get arrested. And when she first got arrested, she told them, like, yo, I can't be arrested, I can't be in jail because my daughter is sick. And if I don't quote me wrong, but I think it's something like lupus or something like that. It's like it's a severe health issue that her daughter is dealing with. And you know, you didn't even think about your daughter before you did something like this. Like $9,000 is what you got paid, sis. $9,000. $9,000 is not that important to me where I'm going to risk my life, risk my freedom, risk the things that I could possibly be getting, the assistance that I could be getting for my daughter, because believe it or not, you're going to have a hard time getting resources for what you have done. You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to be extremely careful about those types of things. You didn't think about that. And so now at this particular junction in your life, you just got to deal with that. And as hurtful as it may seem or be, again, you got to deal with that and you got to eat that because you chose to do this and you chose to take $9,000 and deposit it into all these different bank accounts, which is the most dumbest and stupidest thing I ever seen anyone do. I mean, girl, you do know they can trace all of that back. Like, I want you to think. But anyway, that's what I got to say about Tara.
And he wanted to have a way to communicate with Terica without this woman knowing. And so he wanted to have Terica have a burner phone too, which made no sense, of course.
Right.
But that's
Nino Brown.
what he told us in his testimony. I'm just repeating what he told us. So while Tim waited in the car, Terica went inside of the Walgreens to purchase the exact track phone that Tim had instructed her to buy that they would then use as her burner phone. So she goes in and then she returns to Tim's truck. She gives him the phone, and Tim then begins the process to activate both phones, both the phone that he had already purchased and the phone that Terica had as well. And while he did that process, Terica went back into Walgreens and just began to shop. She stated in her testimony that she was in the Walgreens approximately 45 minutes before Tim was done. Once he was done activating the phones and Terica returned to his truck, he then informed Terica that she needed to use only that phone to communicate with Andre and tell him that her original phone number was going to be disconnected and that she had damaged that phone. She then communicated that to Andre and informed him to only use the burner phone. Tim then instructed Terica to change her phone number to her real phone and that she needed to do it the same day. Terica then at Tim's...
Wait a minute. Tim is stupid. And this girl literally listened to him. Did y'all hear what he just said? Tim told the girl to tell Andre that she disposed of the phone. She got rid of the phone, right? She has a burner phone number. Tim tells her, Tim was looking for this woman to get caught up. Tim turns around and tells her to change that number, that burner phone number, to her actual real phone number. Get out of here, yo. That is crazy. What?
Instructions, found out Andre's location and texted Andre that basically she wanted to see him, etc. Andre then replied that he was going to be at the La Quinta Inn Hotel in Hazelwood, Missouri. And so then Terica said that she was on her way. Dre then hit her up saying basically she was playing games because it was taking her too long. And Terica replied to him that she was leaving the steakhouse and that she was on her way. Well, Terica admitted under testimony in court that she had lied in her text message to Dre about being at the steakhouse because she was in fact right here where I am at now at the Walgreens waiting on Tim to activate the phones. And so after he was done activating the phones, Terica headed towards the La Quinta Inn Hotel where Dre said that he was so that she could verify his location for Tim and his boys, because Tim wanted to verify that Dre wasn't sending Terica off and just telling her any old thing of where he was located. He wanted her to actually see him and then confirm that, yes, this is where he is. So now Terica has parted ways with Tim from the Walgreens, and she is heading towards the La Quinta Inn where Andre is telling her he's located. The La Quinta is approximately maybe 25 minutes, I guess, depending on traffic, away from the Walgreens that Terica was at with Tim. So then Terica arrives at the La Quinta Inn in Hazelwood, and she confirms for Tim that Andre is in fact staying here. She goes up to the room. She sees Andre. Andre is hanging out with a few of his friends. They are smoking, they are drinking. And Terica claims that she was only in the room for about 5 to 10 minutes. During that time, she texted Tim to let him know that Dre is in fact here. Tim then responds via text saying, "My boys aren't ready yet. Find out his next location." And then...
Okay. So far, Terica Ellis has texted Andre. This is where the luring begins. Terica Ellis has texted Andre and tried to see where Andre's whereabouts is per the request from Fat Hips, right? And so he's staying at the La Quinta Inn. They pull up to the La Quinta Inn, and as they're pulling up to the La Quinta Inn, hold on one second. Okay. So Tim and Terica is texting Tim throughout this process, trying to figure out where Andre is. Andre is down at the La Quinta. She pulls up to the La Quinta. She hangs out with them, I guess, or really just trying to lure him in again. And so finally, Tim texts her, letting her know, like, hey, our boys ain't ready yet. And this must be the Travail Hill and the White Hill McNom and all of them different people, that they're not ready yet. Now, again, this is what's crazy to me. This is kind of the missing piece, I guess. I know that when they were having relations is when she actually spoke about Tim, right? However, I guess I'm just trying to figure out like what was the conversation like between Tim and Terica for her to know, like, hey, you need to lure, you need to find out his exact locations over and over and over again. Like, what did you tell her in regards to this? Because again, you this girl only got 3 years. You needed longer than that because you literally sacrificed all of this for $9,000. Like, yo, you are dumb. And that should be enough to give you 25 years, okay? Just for being dumb.
Terica basically goes on to do that. Terica's next stop, in order to waste time, because Dre told her when she basically was like, Dre, where you gonna be next? What you gonna be doing after this? And he tells her that he's trying to do a video shoot later on today at Fairground Park, and also he's going to the studio. And she was basically like, you know, she'll try to catch up with him later. So to waste time, Terica then heads over to the Galleria Mall to waste time until Tim's boys are ready. This is the area where Travell Anthony Hill lived. I'm not exactly sure of the address, but we are definitely in the Peabody community. And so behind me is actually the place where Travell Anthony Hill met with White Boy Chris for the first time. And this is where White Boy Chris then informed Travell, saying that he was charging Tim too much, or Tim said he was charging too much to take the life of Andre. This is also the place where days later, when Tim actually came to...
Okay, so did y'all hear that? So basically, the reason why Tim and his boys were not ready is because of the simple fact Travell, Travell asked for more money. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say the first time he wanted to give him $10,000, and he wasn't here for it. He wasn't here for it. Like, if I'm gonna risk it all, I'm gonna risk it all, you know, with a certain amount. And so he was letting him know, like, the amount that you're offering just ain't it. It ain't it. It just ain't it.
St. Louis, he came over to this community and he ended up meeting with Travell himself. Travell admitted that he got in Tim's truck and they had a discussion, but he said that they never talked about anything pertaining to Andre or taking a life of him or anything like that. However, once he got out of the car or out of Tim's truck,
clue why the
he
thing is
immediately
skipping
went
like this,
to
y'all, 'cause on my
purchase
end,
a weapon to commit the act of taking Andre's life. And so, once again, here we are at the Clinton Peabody projects. All right, so going to our next stop.
doing that,
So
y'all.
Terica arrives to the Galleria Mall.
There we go.
This is where she spent about 3 to 5 hours wasting time and burning time while she waited on Tim to say that his boys was ready so that she could get the new location of where Andre was so that Travell could appear there. And while here at the mall, Terica was checking in with Dre periodically. And during one of the phone conversations, Andre asked her to pick him up an outfit because she was shopping. And
So am I supposed to sit here and actually believe that Travell is the person who actually pulled the trigger? So am I supposed to sit here and believe that Travell and Tim, when he was sitting in Tim's truck, I'm supposed to believe that him and Tim didn't have a conversation about what they was planning on doing? And that part I don't understand. But Terica knows everything. How was she? What did he tell her to make her continue to lure him into a way that eventually she caught up with him? Again, it's weird to me, and I do not believe that Travell sat in that car with Tim Norman and did not talk about Andre at all. I find that hard to believe.
She asked him his pants and shirt size, and she, in fact, did purchase him an outfit, which she took to him later when she heads from here over to the Natural Bridge home. And that is the bag that was later then seen on the ground once Andre was hit. Also, while here at the mall, Terica, per Tim's instructions, changed her phone number for her original phone as well. So she went to the phone company within here.
Okay, so
Most
she
likely
changed her
AT&T,
phone number,
since
her
it was
original
stated
phone
in the
number.
trial that everyone had AT&T
But wait,
phones. Everyone who
why change your original number if you so you had to call the insurance, I mean not the insurance company, but the phone company to tell the phone company that you had destroyed your phone? The y'all, they stupid. The way they moving is just stupid. The more you listen to it, the stupider it sounds.
was related to this case, whose text messages, etc., they pull, they all happen to have AT&T. So I'm assuming that there's an AT&T store in here as well. And so she was in here while her phone number was also being changed. She was shopping. And then from here, she headed over to Natural Bridge once she got the go ahead from Tim, once she got the okay, my boys are ready. She got the address from Dre of where he was, and she in turn gave Tim that address, or sent Tim or told Tim the address. He then asked her to reach out to Travell himself and give him the address directly. And then Travell met her there. So Travell would have likely waited here until Terica actually texted him and said that she was pulling up and that she was luring Andre out. So Travell would have come down and walked around this corner here. Right in front of me is this street here is Natural Bridge, and right across is Fairground Park. So Terica tells him that she's pulled up, and Andre is coming out. Travell told us during his testimony that he was literally standing right here at this railing when Andre came out. So Terica, in her testimony, said that the block was full of cars parked. So she had no choice but to park a couple houses down the street. And so what we can assume is that Terica may have been parked either where the red pickup truck is, or even as far as where the yellow truck is. So Terica pulls up. Andre then comes out of the house. From the testimony we heard, that when Dre came out, Travell said that he was standing here and he asked Andre if he had marijuana because he was trying to identify him, because he wasn't sure if it was Andre or not. Andre answered and never said what answer he gave, and then Andre walked down to where we presume Terica was parked, which we know is a couple houses down. So let's just go with the pickup truck, because this is the Natural Bridge, the home that's a part of the case. It's two houses in, so it's a couple, this home here, and let's just go with here, the third home down would be about where this red pickup truck is. It's just a guesstimation. So we know that after a couple minutes of talking, Dre then gets out of the vehicle. He gets out with his bag. And at the point that Andre is getting out of the vehicle, Terica gets a message on her phone saying, move. And so she immediately takes off, per her words, and then calls Tim. And she's like, what the F? She says she heard some shots, and then she says, should I call Andre? Tim then says, no, get out of town and don't come back to St. Louis. And then he tells her also to get rid of her burner phone that he had just asked her to get.
Yo. This was something that I did not know. I did not know that. Hold on a minute. Hold up. So let me Oh, Jesus. Let me run this back real quick. So you mean to tell me Terica did all of this luring Andre and all of this stuff, but she called Tim as if she didn't know? Like, what did Tim tell you? Are you that gullible and dumb? What did Tim tell you? Like, oh, we just going to get you a burner phone just to be getting you a burner phone. Like, why couldn't you keep in contact with Andre if this was just like a regular situation? Why wouldn't you just be keeping in contact with Andre from your regular phone? You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't play like you didn't know what was going on, because at the particular time, granted, you may not have known that the shooting was going to take place, but let's just hypothetically be speaking, like, what did Tim tell you to make you get the burner phone, go change your number, go do this, go do that? Like, yo, I gotta run that back real quick. I sure do.
On her phone saying, move. And so she immediately takes off.
Now, this is the part where I'm a little bit confused, because if Travell texted you and told you to move and you actually move, but you chose to speed off, why wouldn't you check and make sure Andre was good before you actually sped off? A person with common sense, if you get a text message that says move, I'm gonna be like, what you talking about? Why you want me to move? Why am I moving? Child.
Per her words. And then calls Tim. And she's like, what the F? She says she heard some shots. And then she says, should I call Andre? Tim then says, no, get out of town and don't come back to St. Louis. And then he tells her also to get rid of her burner phone that he had just asked her to get. And so she then heads towards the highway back towards Memphis, as she was originally planning to do that morning, and Tim instructed her to do. So remember, somewhere behind us, approximately there, we have Travell standing in wait. Andre gets out of the car. Travell sees the door swing open, and he texts Terica, move. As Dre gets out, Dre is now walking back to the house. It's quite a few steps to get back. So this gives Travell time. Remember, Andre is also on the phone at this point, presumably. And so this gives Travell time to text Terica, and Andre's probably walking slower. He gets here, he starts his way up the steps. And then Travell said that that's when he fired at him. And he said that Andre was near the top of the stairs, and we know that Andre collapsed and then crawled into the home when that happened. He ended up collapsing. He got shot in the abdomen, in the arm. He ended up crawling inside of the home, made it to the dining room of the home. And that's unfortunately where he's lost his life. And so at that point, we know that Terica drove off. She went in that direction. And then Travell escaped. And he went here in this direction around the corner. So this would be the way that Travell would have run, I'm assuming run, to his vehicle. And maybe, I'm thinking, his vehicle maybe would have been facing the opposite direction, so that he's not having to come back, especially when you see this median here. Yeah, because coming this way would have brought him in the line of fire of the people who would have come out and tried to defend Dre and, you know, the situation at hand. So he likely would have gone that way to get away. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. It's kind of eerie, like looking at the house that we now know was a part of this horrible plot. And then also, I'm not sure if it's vacant or not, but as we can see, the door that's boarded up is the actual door that Dre went through. And there's no doorknob there, so maybe this house is vacant. Yeah, the house might be vacant, but I'm not sure. But where the boarded up door is, that's where Dre would have gone in and unfortunately lost his life. But there's the park across the street where Dre had been planning to film his music video as well that day. And this is also where the basement is where the home studio was that Dre was here for. So very unfortunate. It's definitely, you can feel his spirit here. So yeah, we finally got you justice, Andre. It is reported that while the plot against Andre was being carried out on Natural Bridge, Tim was reportedly in a different neighborhood not far away from Natural Bridge. And after receiving confirmation of what happened to Andre from Terica, Tim headed back to the St. Louis airport to fly back to LA. While Tim was still at the airport waiting on his flight to get back to LA, Tim ignored multiple calls from Miss Robbie around midnight. After eventually answering Miss Robbie's call and acting as if he was still in LA the entire time, Tim contacted Big Ed via text to go with Miss Robbie to the police department, knowing that Miss Robbie would also have to identify Andre's body. Andre's murder then becomes a cold case for many years, while Andre's mother, Michelle Griggs, never gives up and contacts the investigators constantly to ensure that they don't give up on this case. And eventually, a task force called Operation Legion was created using multiple governmental agencies and law enforcement to crack down on crime in Missouri. And through this, Andre's cold case was picked up. And within a matter of time, Tim and his co-conspirators were arrested starting in August of 2020. May Andre rest in peace.
All right. All right. So that is shout out to my boy. Shout out to my boy Vale for doing that. Hopefully we still get to have a discussion because I do want to talk to him. He was the one that was in the courtroom. Him and Chronicle Speaks have been following this. You know, they've really been following this. The thing for me, that I mean, there's so many pieces to this actual puzzle that you literally just sit back and put together trying to figure it out. Like for the life of me, I can't figure out what Terica Ellis, what was literally going on in your mind when you were being instructed to literally lure Andre. Like, what was going on in your mind? Like, I don't feel like she would have been the one to be like, oh well, once he say move, I'm pulling out of the way, I'm speeding off. Like, why am I moving? And if you cared that much about Andre, so she says that she did when she was up on the stand giving her testimony. If you say you care that much about Andre, why would you just pull off like that? Why? It doesn't make sense to me. So here's what I want to say, because I know a lot of people. I actually received the message yesterday talking about they was going, it was a book. I ain't gonna read the book, but I did read the first few lines of the actual message, and the message was saying, um, y'all should stop saying that Miss Robbie need to be investigated, such and such. Well, I never said Miss Robbie need to be investigated. Okay. But what I did say, and I stand 10 toes down on this, I don't care how old Miss Robbie is. I don't care how much money Miss Robbie got. I don't care about none of that. What I care about is the fact that at the end of the day, your grandson told you that he feared for his life being around Tim Norman. Although Tim Norman was not the one that pulled the trigger, he planned and plotted to have your son, I mean, your grandson, unalive. And so, for the life of me, anything that you've done, it just doesn't add up as a grandmother to me. You thought your grandson was the one that stole this money when, in all actuality, the sister was absolutely right. A person Andre's age, if they got a hold of that much money, I want to say it was about $200,000 or something like that. It was a lot of money. If somebody has stole that type of money at the age that Andre was, and he's trying to come up with a music career, it would be very obvious that he would be flashing that money around, right? It would be very obvious that he would be flashing that money around. But he did not do that because Andre was not the person who took that money. And everything in me tells me Miss Robbie knew that. She knew that. You had active lawsuits out against your son for creating restaurants in other states. not just in St. Louis. We talking other states in Mississippi. And you don't think in your mind that your son will be the one to steal this money from you? That got the most access to you? You unalived your nephew for $450,000. And here you are making an excuse to keep your son out in the streets? Are you kidding me? And if I was Tim, yo, what you trying to do to get out of prison? Yo, what would your life be after you get out? Like, come on now. You will never be able to live a peaceful life. Ever. Terica Ellis received 3 years in federal prison. 3 years. No, ma'am. You deserve way more than 3 years. Absolutely. Unfortunately, I hope this doesn't come off as insensitive, but you should have thought about your daughter's health and stuff like that before you did this. Before you plotted to unalive, because you can't make me think there's not a bone in my body that believes that this girl literally did not know what Tim planned on doing. There's not a bone in my body that tells me that. If a woman literally luring a man, you told her exactly what you plan to do. And if you didn't tell her exactly what you plan to do, you told her something. You told her something. Tim had all these cars. Tim told Andre that he could not drive now one of them luxury cars that he had when Andre was living in St. Louis with Tim at the time. Well, not living with Tim, but living in St. Louis around, Miss Robbie and Tim. Another reason why I can't get with Fat Hip Tim is because you sat on that reunion stage and you said, while hugging your mama, you said, "Oh, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. I just don't know what happened to my nephew, and we really want to get down to the bottom of it." But little did you know that when they did get down to the bottom of it, that you was gonna be the one that was gonna go under. I can't with Miss Robbie, y'all. I can't. I'm sorry, but there's not a like. I can't. I can't rock with that. I can't rock with the fact that you knew this stuff time and time again. It had been proven in court that your grandson reached out to you multiple times to tell you that he was in fear for his life. Could she maybe have stopped this particular situation from happening? Maybe not. But the issue is she knew, because he kept telling her, "I didn't take that money from you." He's going back and forth doing whatever he can. We heard his sister say just yesterday or the day before yesterday when the sentence happened. We heard his sister say that even once while they were in his presence, Miss Robbie was on speakerphone with Andre. And Andre again is telling Miss Robbie, crying hysterically, "I didn't do it. I did not do it. I didn't steal that money from you. I wouldn't do that to my grandma." And again, a guy his age that's considering to take a rap career, that's out here smoking weed and doing that type of stuff, they are going to spend the money. They're going to spend the money. I'm sorry. Miss Robbie knew what her son was capable of doing. And for you to literally write that letter, to literally get up there and want the judge to have leniency on your sorry, wide hip, big hip son, I can't. I can't. I can't. Your son has shown patterns, and I could understand too if Tim and Miss Robbie had a good relationship. But we even seen on the show how he talked to his own mother. So no, I just, this situation, I think, will forever be a situation. Although the family has received justice, Andre has received justice, and I am so glad. I'm very much hoping that um that his appeal is denied and all of that stuff. I am most definitely. You need to be up under the prison with your wide hips, your big hips, and all. Okay, because it, like, yo, he flew into St. Louis the day before. So for those of you who did not catch this, my boy Bell, he's been following this case. He's been to St. Louis. He went to the trial and he also went to the sentencing. And he's been really keeping up with this. If you go over to his YouTube channel, he literally has nothing but a whole bunch of Tim Norman stuff, like where he's been talking about this case and Andre, right? Not to mention Miss Michelle Griggs, shout out to Miss Michelle Griggs. She did give him and Chronicle Speaks their just due, because him and Chronicle Speaks and Philly Phil have been the YouTubers who have literally been on this case from the beginning, letting everybody know what time it is when it comes to this. Yo, in this, I'll put the link to this video again. You guys have to go check this out. Okay, in case, because I know a lot of you guys came in when we were getting close to the end of this, but this literally lays out the full timeline of Tim Norman and Andre's relationship and how Terica allegedly, to me, that girl was not blindsided by anything. I could be completely wrong. I just don't see where she was blindsided about something. So her driving off, Travell texting her, telling her to move. I'm literally getting activated again, y'all. I really am. But Terica is literally telling, Travell texts Terica to tell Terica to move, because I guess she was in the plain situation of him being unalive. But that don't add up to the fact that Travell waited until Andre walked down the sidewalk before he shot him. Yes. So I don't know if you've seen the guy that was on the right hand side of the thing, Katrina. That's why he'll whack now. He's the guy he's the guy who actually wrote the insurance policy. The Wahil Hagnam dude. What, I'm probably saying his name wrong. Hold on one second. Wahil. I know I'm spelling his name wrong. Hold on. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Let me make sure I get the name right. Okay, that's his name in Terica Ellis. Yeah, his name was Wahil Wagnum, something like that. But anyway, he was the one that allegedly wrote the actual insurance policy, right? Now, to be clear, when was this written? This was in 2020, so this was before everything, really got. Now, just let's be clear. According to court documents, Norman and Wagnam, or whatever his name is, submitted 3 separate life insurance applications beginning in October of 2014. Now, all 3 of these applications were for Andre. All 3 were for Andre. All applications contained numerous false statements regarding Montgomery's income, net worth, medical history, employment, and family background. And the life insurance policy that was ultimately issued, Norman obtained a $200,000 policy as well as a $200,000 accidental death rider that would pay out in the event that Montgomery died of something other than a natural cause, and a $50,000 10-year term rider that would pay out if Montgomery died within 10 years of the insurance policy in 2014. According to the release from the Department of Justice, if convicted of the conspiracy to commit M for hire or M for hire results in death, the penalty is life in imprisonment or death, and a fine up to $250,000. In conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud carries a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. Now, y'all, I I'm literally at a loss for words because I don't know what were y'all thinking, bro? Like the people who were involved in this, y'all can't be that dumb. Like seriously. Okay. So this was from November the 8th of 2022 in regards to Wahel Wagnam or whatever. And again, this is the insurance dude. It goes on to say the U.S. District Judge John A. Ross on Monday sentenced a former insurance agent to 3 years in prison for helping a former reality star, reality show star fraudulently obtaining life insurance on the nephew the star later had unalive. Okay. And so it goes on to also say that Judge Ross said that there was no evidence that Wahil Wegnam knew that a M was going to occur when he committed insurance fraud, but added it was a foreseeable outcome that bad things were going to happen. Why Wagnam 44 pleaded guilty in July to a charge of conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud. He admitted he admitted to conspiring with James Timothy Norman to fraudulently obtain a life insurance policy on Norman's nephew, Andre Montgomery Jr. Now, Norman and Wagnam began submitting life insurance applications in October of 2014, containing numerous false statements regarding Montgomery's income, net worth, medical history, employment, and family background in an attempt to obtain policies. One $200,000 policy was immediately issued that contained a $200,000 accidental death rider that would pay out if Montgomery died of something other than natural causes, and a $50,000 term rider that would pay out if Montgomery died within 10 years of the policy's issuance. Now, to be very clear, how would Tim know any of this stuff? Him and that Wahil Hagnam dude had been friends for quite some time. Okay. Now this happened like yo, you literally they have been knowing for quite some time. Okay, now this goes on to say after Montgomery 21 was fatally shot by Travell Anthony Hill at 3964 Natural Bridge Avenue in St. Louis on March the 14th of 2016. Norman repeatedly contacted the insurance company about the claim and later hired an attorney to help. You gotta be, yo. You hired an attorney to help you because you couldn't get that insurance policy. Yo, I can't. I can't. I can't. Now, Wagnam placed 2 phone calls to the insurance agencies seeking to file a claim. Now, Montgomery's relatives pointed out in statements during Monday's hearing that Wagnam coached Norman on how to pretend to be Montgomery to obtain the policy, and a policy that was necessary to make the M for hire profitable for Norman. Now, Norman and Montgomery appeared on the reality show Welcome to Sweetie Pies. Hill 31 was sentenced last month to 32 years in prison. So for some reason, I was thinking that he was only sentenced to like 27 years. But anyway, I'll take the 32 years. It is what it is. You need to be all the way up under the jail too. So it says Hill 31 was sentenced last month to 32 years in prison for a charge of conspiracy to commit M for hire, and one count of M for hire. Okay. Now the sentencing for Norman, as we know, um, yeah, so we know, and this just goes on to say it also talks about Terica Ellis. Now, so the insurance man received 3 month 3 years, okay, and Terica Ellis, give me just a second. I know for a fact that this girl received. Hold on one second. Okay, so this says the woman who lured former St. Louis reality TV star Andre Montgomery Jr. onto the street in a high profile M4 hire plot was sentenced to 3 years. I was right. In prison Tuesday during an emotional hearing. Terica Ellis, 39, sobbed as she spoke for her remorse and asked for leniency before U.S. District Judge John Ross. I am so ashamed to be here in this place, she said through tears. As she spoke, Montgomery's mother, Michelle Griggs, yelled out in court, "But you took my baby." Ross sentenced Ellis to 3 years in prison on one count of conspiracy to commit M for hire, reduced from the 20 years recommended in sentencing guidelines. She pled guilty in June of 2022 to conspiring with James Tim Norman by tracking Norman's 21-year-old nephew Montgomery when he was unalive in March of 2016. It goes on to also say Montgomery and Norman both starred in Welcome to Sweetie Pies, a long-running own reality show about the family soul food business in St. Louis area. Norman aimed to make up to $450,000 in life insurance against his nephew's life and paid Ellis about $10,000 for her role in the plot. Now, she has testified that she thought Norman was trying to find his nephew to confront him about the burglary, but didn't know he planned to hire another man to unalive Montgomery. But I'm a little confused because who did you think Travell? What did you think Travell was doing? Oh, my bad. He was trying to get some weed. That's what it was, girl. Anyway, she told the judge Tuesday that she never reported the unaliving out of fear. I was afraid for my life, she said. I am so sorry. Ross said that he considered her facts, past trauma, and cooperation as a key witness against Norman, the mastermind of the actual plot. Now, Norman was convicted in September of conspiracy to commit and for hire, among other charges in the trial. Now, Ross said both of these tireless work for St. Louis police detectives and Ellis' testimony were key to the verdict. They easily could have just been another unsolved unaliving, Ross said, that would just have been horrible. Ross said that it's also factored in dozens of letters the court received in support of Ellis, laying out her long history of Ellis being a victim of abuse and violence, including being forced into prostitution at a young age. It goes on to say that the sentence matched the prosecutor's recommendation, but went against requests from the Montgomery family members who spoke in favor of the maximum sentence on Tuesday. If she didn't, if she hadn't had done that and done her part, there's a possibility Andre would still be with us. Montgomery's aunt Sandra Mullins said. Now, this also goes on to say that basically, again, like I said, she has a ill daughter or something of that sort. And that was another thing that was written back and forth to the courts, was the fact that she had an ill child. But for me, girl, you should have thought about that before you did any of this stuff. Like, you are just as guilty as anyone else. And that just is what it is. I don't, for me, even if you thought that he was going to be confronting his nephew, why do you need to be in it? Why did you need to be involved in it? Why did you need to be the one to try to figure out where his whereabouts is so he can confront him about stealing Miss Robbie's money. Yo, why did you need to be involved? If Tim would have approached me with this, I'd have been like, mind your own business. I'm a mind mine, and I'm going to go on back to Memphis and do what I need to do. You stayed in St. Louis. You lured that man out of his house to get him unalive. Girl, you can save that. You can save that. And I also believe, and I always say this, I also believe there's no possible way that she did not know what Travell was doing when she had Travell's phone number and Travell told her to move. Come on, you knew that man was getting ready to do something. If that man tells you to move and you so close and you care about Andre, why wouldn't you speak up and say something? You just gonna drive off? What kind of friend does that? What kind of friend does that? What kind of friend just drives off? Somebody say move. If somebody just texts me and say move, I'm gonna just drive off. That man was right there. Travell was right there. Travell approached Andre about purchasing some weed. So he was right there. She knew it. So I don't want to hear this bogus lie about your daughter being sick. Your daughter is getting the help that she needs. There's ways for the government and for people to make sure that your daughter is just fine. You need to be up under that prison, and you need to be up under there for also being stupid and taking $9,000 and depositing it into different accounts. Everything that we described in this was dumb and stupid. It was stupid. I don't feel bad for the girl. I don't at all. You got exactly what you well, actually, you deserve more time, but you was an idiot through yeah, I did see that. Danielle, I did see that. I did. That lady that was involved should have gotten no less than 20 years. I agree. I agree. And I think that they should have gave that man, that Raheel Wegnam dude, I think they should have gave him more money. I mean, more time, not more money, but more time. All you get is 3 years for being a fraud. Girl. I don't get it and I don't understand. But yeah, I wanted you guys to see this. I wanted you guys to see this actual video. This is like a mini docu-series that he did. Because like I said, my boy Vale, he's been going back and forth to St. Louis. Same for Chronicle Speaks. If you guys don't follow either one of them, please go follow them. They have been keeping up this story from day one. And I think it was really dope for him to literally only to be able to go to each one of those spots. We saw the club where Terica worked. We saw the home where unfortunately Andre was unalived outside of that home. We also saw the penthouse that Fat Hips allegedly was supposed to be living in with the girlfriend or whatever the case may be. Another thing that got me too was when they said that Andre used to ask Tim if he could drive some of his cars, and he would tell him no, he needs to go use the driving service. I was like, this dude, the insurance agent only got 3 years, only 3 years. Literally only 3 years. The insurance agent got 3 years, and so did Terica Ellis. The guy who unalived got 32 years, I believe. 32 years. And then Tim Norman got life. Now, I also want to go ahead and let y'all know something. Remember I told y'all that right before Tim's sentencing the other day, Tim wrote a letter to the judge. Now, according to his attorneys did not know that he had a letter written to the judge. And the letter written to the judge was so that the judge could step down from the case, because in this particular situation, he's choosing sides. And I think it says something about fraud, and it says something about misrepresentation and something else. But basically, it was like a 3-page letter, and he's basically begging um, the state, I guess, or whoever, because it is against the state of St. Louis. He's basically saying that he wants the judge off of the case, and that when he requests a new trial, because he wants to submit more information in regards to the appeal. He wants a new trial, and he wants the judge to step down. He wants the judge to step down because he says the judge knows too much, which I think is real stupid. But anyway, whatever. You just mad because this judge gave you life as you deserve. You deserve 5 life sentences, so you don't never get your no good wide hip tail out of prison ever in your life again. And let's be very clear. This is why I keep telling you I can't rock with Miss Robbie. This man has been to prison before. Okay? Let's be clear. This man has been to prison before. This man has been in trouble before. This man has had multiple lawsuits in regards to his scamming ways, one from his own mama. Like I can't rock with it. I can't rock with it. But yeah, this man done been to prison before. His own mama had to sue him for creating sweetie pies and other states, y'all. So it really burns my buns to literally see how Miss Robbie treated her grandson in this process, knowing that her son wasn't nothing but a dog. Like, I can't. I can't. I can't. Exactly. Exactly, Shirley. Exactly. Yes. That man has been to prison before. Like, and I know people probably think, okay, the picture in my thumbnail, for instance, that was from the when he first got in trouble years ago. So like, yo, this man is sick. He continues to keep things going on. And my issue is too, again, and I'll continue to say this when it comes to Miss Robbie. I can't rock with Miss Robbie. I can't. I cannot rock with Miss Robbie. Too many signs, too many open opportunities to protect your grandson, and you chose not to. You chose not to. You chose not to. Okay, let me see. Um, hold on. Now I can't remember exactly what he went to prison for before. I know it has something to do with some fraud stuff, but what I will also say though is too, and I like I just y'all can quit DMing me talking about you shouldn't be saying it about Miss Robbie. You shouldn't be saying it about Miss Robbie because I'm gonna tell you just like I told this other person in my DMs. It's my channel, and I say what the hell I want, and I stand 10 toes down in the fact that I can't rock with Miss Robbie. I stand 10 toes down in that, and I mean every bit of that. You knew you did not protect your grandson when your grandson needed protection. Now, see, had he done things to protect himself, then he'd have been labeled Y'all already labeled him a thug. You already labeled him a gangster and all of this kind of stuff. But had he really done what he needed to do to protect himself, he would still be called those things. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. This man is whack. Tim Norman is whack. He needs to stay under the prison. I hope they deny everything, including the appeal. So yeah, when Tim gets about 80 some years old, he's eligible to get out of prison. He is. So I hope he rots in prison. I do. I sure do. Because there was absolutely no reason for you to unalive your nephew to attempt to get $450,000 only for your ass to be locked up in prison. What you was gonna do with the $450,000? You thought you was honestly gonna get away with something like this, bro? No. You're never gonna get away with an unaliving like this. Never. Y'all, I get so activated talking about this story because I couldn't imagine. Could you literally imagine? Could you imagine being Andre's mother and just now receiving justice 7 years later? On the 14th of this year, it will be 7 years since Andre's unfortunate unalive. And Miss Michelle Griggs, shout out to you, sending you nothing but love. Because one thing about it, that's one mother that has never given up. She's never given up. Never given up. So seeing her get emotional, I got emotional too, because I'm like, yo, when you finally receive that justice, it feels good. It does feel good because at the end of the day, unfortunately, whoever was unalived or whatever the situation is, it's not going to bring them back. So the only thing that you can do is get justice for this particular person because that's what you want to see. And just looking at her breathe, and she even said in that press conference, I can breathe now. I can breathe. She said it just feels like I've been suffocated for the last 6 years. I cannot imagine that feeling. I cannot. Okay, let's see. Tim is evil. When Miss Robbie asked Tim to take her where Andre got unalive, Tim stood there and in those hips and act like he was shocked. Yep. But I'm sorry. I just don't see Miss Robbie being any better either. I don't. I don't. I don't. You knew. You knew. And you knew your grandson did not take that money. You knew your son did that. You knew your son did that. And it just, to me, even if you were scared, there were things that you could have done behind the scenes to fix it. But instead of you being emotional about the unaliving of your grandson, you get emotional about the fact that your wide hip son got life in prison. Girl, go on. I don't care what nobody say. There's no age limit to none of this stuff. You can get it too. Mama, grandmama, great grandmama, auntie, uncle, you can get it too. You could have done something about this. You sat on that stand and said that even though Andre had been sending you messages, recordings, calling you, letting you know that he felt like Tim was going to do something to him, was going to harm him, and you sat on that stand and said that you didn't do nothing about it, not rocking with you. Not listening to none of your music. I'm not supporting you. I don't care that you used to be an ICAT or a pimp, whatever you was. I don't care. I'm going to eat you up too. Sure am. That's just the way I feel. That's just the way that I feel about it. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Shirley. Hey, sis, hey, prosperity. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? As a mother, we know deep down what our children are capable of. If no one else knows. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you know what your son is capable of, and it would be a different situation if you didn't have active lawsuits out on your own son. Like, come on. Okay. Um. Now this is from 2000 and this is from 2015, I think. So yeah, 2015. Sweetie Pie's founder Robbie Montgomery is suing her own son for illegally using her trademark to open restaurants in her name. That's fraud, fool. And so we're gonna sit back and act like we ain't know what Tim was capable of doing before now. All this man saw was money signs. And we gonna rock with that? Hell no, not on my watch. Nope, 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 nope. I'ma eat you up every time. Again, I don't care nothing about Miss Robbie being an Ikehead, a teenhead, or whatever she was. I don't care. I do not care. You knew. Let's talk about it, because you knew. You knew what time it was. Yeah, I can go on and get activated and more activated and more activated. Um, I can't believe Miss Robbie and I don't look at her the same. Yeah, I don't either. And look, I know people will feel sorry for her again because of who she is, because of her age, and because this is her son. But what about her grandson? That lady didn't even talk to Michelle Griggs yesterday, Andre's mother. Or not yesterday, but the day of the sentencing. I don't care who you are. As Tim Norman's mother, you should have went and just simply said something to Michelle Griggs about Andre. I don't see it for Robbie Montgomery, and I'm gonna continue to say that. I don't see it for her. You could have easily walked over to Michelle Griggs, and you didn't even have to say nothing. You could have gave her a big hug and walked your tail on out of that courtroom and went on about your business. But you chose to, when they asked to speak to you, you said no. They don't owe you nothing, Robbie Montgomery. They don't owe you nothing. That family don't owe you nothing. You owe them everything, including an explanation as to why you didn't do nothing to protect your grandson. And I've been looking on YouTube. It's a lot of people dragging this woman. It's a lot of people dragging her as she deserves. Hold on one second. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Um. Nah, it ain't in here. I was trying to see if her statement was in here. I don't even care to read it. I don't care to read that. I don't. I don't. Again, I don't see it for Miss Robbie, y'all. I don't. I sure don't. It's so many avenues and so many ways to look at this actual situation. But to think that there were opportunities that you could have done something to help the situation and you chose not to do it, I just have a really big issue with you. And it seems and sounds like a whole lot of people do. So yeah, you gotta live with this every day. You do. You gotta live with it every day. Yeah, granted, you do. And what? You didn't do nothing about it when you had the opportunity to. So unfortunately, you gotta live with it. All right, y'all. Listen, I'm about to get up off of here. I just wanted to bring you guys this video in regards to this because you guys know I'm gonna keep on talking about Tim Whitehill Norman, and I'm gonna keep on talking about Miss Robbie. Okay, I'm gonna keep on talking about Miss Robbie because again, Miss Robbie, this lady sat on the stand and admitted that she didn't do much in regards to this. But now we know why. Okay. Now, so the next live that I'll do in regards to this will break down the letter that Tim Norman did give to the judge. Again, his attorneys knew absolutely nothing about this letter. And you do know that during his sentencing, it was advised per the courts that that letter not be read, right? However, it is in the transcripts and on the docket. So all I got to do is go grab the letter and we're going to bring it back over here. We're going to read it and analyze it. And I'm going to keep on dragging Tim Fat Hip Norman. Okay. Sure is going to keep on dragging you. Okay. And tell your attorneys, don't worry about trying to appeal this, okay? Because you have been found guilty and you got 2 life sentences. And I hope that if you do decide to appeal, I hope it's dragged all the way out until your life, whether you die up in that place or you end up getting out or whatever the case may be. I hope that the appeal don't never go through. That's my hope. Sure am hoping it. Because I can't. Listen, y'all, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I really do. I am going to one more time go ahead and place this link to this actual video from a boy Bill. Y'all, please go check him out. He's been keeping up with this case from day one, and so there's a lot of videos. He's able to break down what all happened in the courtroom when the trial was going on. So if you guys care to check that out, I did paste the link in the comment section. Make sure you go subscribe to his channel, okay? And for those of you that were here, I hope I was able to give you a good show. I know I get activated when I talk about this because I also told you guys that I have family members that know Miss Michelle Griggs very well. I have family members who attended Andre's service. And actually my cousin them, they knew Andre. So it's one of those things to where I also say, like, it kind of hits home. It hits home. So it's crazy. Anyway, y'all bless the channel. It is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Cash App $ Chef Don Don 2 or via Venmo and Chef Don Don 2 as well. Our next video, we're gonna go live a little bit later on today. Set your notifications, but we are going to be discussing the Shanquilla Robinson case and the latest on that. You know, we haven't really been covering it because there hasn't been really any news. I'm very disappointed that there has not been any type of arrest. But we're going to do a deep dive into that a little bit later on today when it comes to Shanquilla. But I need you guys to do me a favor. You guys know I don't monetize those type of videos. So what I need you all to do is when we do go live, make sure that you like and share and comment and engage, okay? Because once you show engagement, what it does is it pushes that up in the algorithm, okay? It pushes it up in the algorithm and it helps us get the message out there, okay? So whatever you do, if you can't donate monetarily, support all of your content creators, at least by liking the video, sharing the video, and making sure that you're engaging in the comments and doing different things because that does help, okay? It helps a lot. All right, with that being said, I'm about to go, guys, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Peace.